In today's video, Democrats get bad news after CNN publishes a devastating poll. Also, a federal judge is now blocking the Trump administration from freezing federal funds to sanctuary cities. And Hispanic voters are speaking out against Democrats.
Democrats, how much has their confidence fallen in their leaders?
Yeah, this, I think, is a revolt that is going on within the Democratic Party right now, Democrats and their leaders. I mean, take a look nationally. Hello, Democrats on Dem leaders in Congress. The belief that they will do the right thing when it comes to the economy. Last year at this time, 80% believed that the Democratic leaders in Congress would do the right thing when it comes to the economy. And keep in mind, this is Democrats. Look at where we are now. That number has been slashed in half to just 39%. Holy Toledo, that is the lowest number by far in Gallup polling. The lowest previous was just 60%, which is 21 points higher than this. Democrats hate what their congressional leaders in Washington are doing right now on the key issue of the day, the economy, and their confidence has fallen through the floor, Mr. Berman.
So there are so many reasons why that number is 39%, but I'm just going to focus on two. Number one, far left progressives have hijacked Democrats, no question, and everything that they want to do is rooted in Marxism and socialism. We know that's not going to work. And number two, if we just look at the results under the Biden administration, Wall Street got richer, and Main Street was left out to dry. What else more needs to be said when you're talking about the economy? I'm surprised it's not even lower than that. And that's why I said this is bad news for Democrats, no question. Now, the same problem applies to Chuck Schumer. Take a look.
All right, Chuck Schumer is the Senate Democratic leader right now. How are feelings about him, particularly in New York?
Yeah, let's go to the state of New York. It's what's always on my mind, right? We're in the state of New York right now. New York Democrats on Chuck Schumer view him favorably. In December of 2024, that was just a few months ago, it was 73%. Look at where that number has fallen to in just a few months. It is now down to just 52%. That is the lowest I could ever find in Siena College on how Democrats in Chuck Schumer's home state view him. And keep in mind, if you're thinking about a primary challenge, it would be a few years away. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's favorable rating among Democrats is considerably higher, in the 60s. So he is doing quite poorly in his own home state of New York. I never thought I'd see the day in which just 52% of New York Democrats would view Chuck Schumer favorably. It's almost unfathomable.
Yeah, I like the footnote, the tiny footnote here. I think it will look much bigger to the Schumer team this morning as they look at that. When you're talking about Chuck Schumer, why? Is there an answer to your question? Is there an answer to the question of why his ratings dropped?
Yeah, it's because they simply put don't like the job he's doing as Senate leader. I mean, look at this. Should Schumer stay as Senate leader? Again, according to New York Democrats, just 50% say yes. Look at this number. 48% say no. This screams sirens should be going off. Primary challenge, primary challenge, primary challenge. When you're a Democrat in New York and these are your ratings, this is a big wake-up call if you're Chuck Schumer.
Of course, it's a big wake-up call, but that doesn't mean he'll see it. And we're going to show you proof of that because it also applies to other Democrats who aren't seeing it that way either. They believe what they've been doing works, and they're willing to double down on it. And a great example of that is Congresswoman Omar. She still wants to make sure that the government is weaponized against their political opponents because she just said this yesterday.
It is very clear that in the 3 months Trump has been in office, the United States has been in a free fall. You all know that Democrats are in the minority in the House and in the Senate, and that drastically reduces our power. If we were in the majority, here's what we would be doing. We will be holding non-stop oversight hearings about what the Trump administration is doing, carrying out investigations into the corruption and the abuses of power and illegal actions. We will be holding Trump appointees in contempt of Congress when they lie under oath and violate the Constitution. And trust me when I say this, we will be suing Trump for stealing congressional authority, especially spending power.
So when you think about that 39% rating when it comes to the economy, no wonder, because in that whole spiel, she didn't even mention that, right? See, Democrats, they're not focused on actually delivering solutions to Americans. They're not in the policy creating business. They're in the weaponizing the justice system against their political opponents business. I mean, that's how I see it. I don't know about you. And another example why their approval rating is so low is because they would rather defend illegal aliens who are committing murder against Americans. Please listen to this next story.
Illegal immigrant in California who is being let out of prison after 3.5 years. The problem is he was sentenced to 10 for killing two 19-year-olds, Anya Varfolomeev and Nikolai Osokin. The victims were unlucky enough to be traveling down the 405 freeway in Orange County, California, back in 2021 when Ortega Anguino struck them, going 100 miles an hour, drunk and high. The young couple didn't die on impact. Instead, they burned alive. But somehow, under California's twisted legal logic, 3.5 years is sufficient. The families of the victims feel differently. The world should feel differently. And what makes this tragedy worse is that Ortega Anguino was deported twice, in 2016 and 2018, came back to Sanctuary, California, and killed.
See, this is the nightmare that President Trump warned America about during the campaign. And everybody said, oh, he's just exaggerating. That doesn't actually happen, or that's not really a problem. Well, clearly, this is not an over exaggeration because it was a preventable death and situation. The guy was deported twice, a known criminal. But when these criminals understand our system, meaning they know that the state of California is a sanctuary location, they're going to take advantage. Now, here's the only question that matters at this point. What will the Attorney General Pam Bondi do about this?
Bondi posted, this is absolutely unconscionable. What about justice for these teens? What about the rights of their parents? The Justice Department will work with ICE to make sure this illegal alien receives full punishment for his crimes. The dad of one of the victims, of one of the 19-year-olds, said he feels like they just spit on him.
And did you know that the families of the victims found this out? They found out that this guy was going to be released early on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Easter Sunday. Can you imagine? It's just heartbreaking. And you know what? This guy, who's a criminal and a murderer, in addition to being an illegal immigrant, twice deported, as you said, the only reason this guy should be getting out of prison early is to get deported back to where he came from once and for all. I also think this shows why Gavin Newsom is never going to be president, no matter what he thinks, because he's complying now. Mm-hmm. But right after President Trump was sworn in, a month later, Gavin Newsom signed legislation in California. California is a sanctuary state, and Gavin Newsom is the architect and the protector of it. And he signed legislation allotting $50 million, anticipating cases like this from the federal government to protect illegal immigrants.
Now, what's even more annoying is what just came out, which is breaking news. Another activist judge by the name of William Orrick of California has blocked the Trump administration from withholding funds from 16 sanctuary cities and counties who protect illegal aliens like the one we were just discussing. And what they're really disputing here is that they do not agree with honoring civil immigration detainer requests. They do not want to cooperate with administrative warrants for purposes of immigration enforcement. They don't want to share information with federal immigration authorities other than immigration or citizenship status. And they definitely do not want to use local law enforcement to arrest or detain illegal aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, Democrats are sick, especially Gavin Newsom and his whole entourage in this state.
What exactly is this court saying?
So this is a block of a block, Jose. What that means essentially is that the federal government, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice had put out earlier this year executive orders and directives saying that if you are a sanctuary city, you are going to lose federal funding. This is a judge saying, no, actually, the Trump administration can't do that. So the plaintiffs in this case were 5 sanctuary cities. They include San Francisco, Santa Clara, California, Portland, Oregon, King County, Washington, and New Haven, Connecticut. That's in total millions of dollars worth of federal funding that was going to these cities that the Trump administration wanted to stop. A judge said today they can't do that. The judge also said today that it was a violation of the Fifth Amendment, calling it unconstitutionally vague and violating due process, and also said it violates the Constitution's separation of powers clause. So this is certainly a significant ruling in this larger conversation about the immigration efforts that are being undertaken by the Trump administration.
Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Democrats are taking a page from President Trump. They're flooding the zone with all of these lawsuits, right? Repeated lawsuits. Why? Because they're trying to bait Trump into what they would call a constitutional crisis. They want him to defy court orders, so they finally have something legitimate to stand on. Now, The governor did respond to this ridiculous case, and they use a disgusting response. Let me read it to you. After being deported in 2013, this individual unlawfully re-entered the U.S. and committed heinous crimes. A GOP district attorney then gave him a plea deal instead of pursuing second-degree murder. CDCR will again coordinate with ICE, as they have with 10,000 plus inmates, to transfer him before release. Now, you know the district attorney was going to respond to that, and here's what he said. To be clear, a plea deal can only be made with prosecutors. Not only did we not offer this DUI defendant who killed 2 people a deal, we objected to the judge's sentence and argued for the maximum sentence. So who are you really going to believe here?
The Democrat Party has become the party of terrorists and illegal aliens. That is the Democrat Party of today. Who does it sympathize with? Who does it fight for? Who does it move heaven and earth to protect? Illegal alien gang members and foreign terrorists. President Trump is leading a party for Americans, for all Americans, for American citizens. That's who he's fighting for. And he's doing it with a determination and a passion and a focus and a commitment we've never seen before. Let's talk just briefly about Tren de Aragua, the vicious gang that drills holes in people's hands, chops off their fingers, murders them in cold blood. A gang that, based on information that has been discovered by FBI, is even plotting assassination attempts inside the United States of America.
And here's another exhibit proving Stephen Miller's point. According to Charlie Kirk, Washington state Democrats have passed a new bill that orders expedited pardons for immigrant criminals so they won't be deported to their home countries. Yeah, reread that again. It's barely an exaggeration to say that Democrats worship foreign criminals. They are a protected class in the woke hierarchy of the left. If you rob, rape, or drive drunk while foreign, protecting you from deportation has become a badge of honor for Democrats. They view immigration as a convenient punishment for a country and a citizenry they despise. And that's exactly what's happening in this case with Mr. Garcia, the individual deported to El Salvador. You now have Hispanic voters voicing their disgust at the Democratic Party for how they've been handling this entire situation. Take a look.
I am Hispanic, but I am a citizen, legal citizen, and I am disgusted, and I am so angry with liberals going out of the country for this guy. I don't understand what they're trying to say to the Hispanic community. Like, are they trying to pick votes? Why are they doing this? It's not doing anything. It's just making us more angry. That's all.
Yeah, I'm angry for her, especially after reading this post from Charlie Kirk. He said this, so let me get this straight. The so-called Maryland dad, Mr. Garcia, was pulled over in Tennessee in 2022 carrying 8 passengers with no luggage. He didn't even have a valid driver's license. He was coming from Houston, one of the hotbeds of human smuggling. He told police it was his boss's car, a man named Jose Reyes, an illegal migrant who was sentenced to prison for human smuggling in 2020. All 8 passengers claimed Mr. Garcia's address as their own. Then, to make matters worse, Tennessee Highway Patrol suspected Garcia of human trafficking, but ultimately let him go at the request of the FBI and simply gave him a warning for driving on an expired license. And so while Democrats are defending this guy, President Trump is continuing to keep his promise.
In just the last few weeks, President Trump has found 300 ringleaders and top members of the Tren de Aragua terrorist organization. They are the ones that are now in Texas awaiting deportation under the Alien Enemies Act, stymied by judges, but Sean, they're going to get deported. They're going to get sent home. President Trump found them. 300 ringleaders and top executives of that terrorist organization in just the last couple of weeks. That is his level of determination, while the Democrat Party is flying around the world defending gangbangers and terrorists.
And that explains why President Trump posted this earlier this morning. The Democrats are fighting like hell to keep murderers and all other type of criminals solidly in the United States of America. They have gone crazy and are only getting worse. But wait, there is more. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker announced that the state will take punitive actions against the country of El Salvador for holding Mr. Garcia in custody, this fine gentleman here. White House responded by saying, why won't the governor take action to protect his constituents from the dangerous illegal immigrants he's harboring in his sanctuary cities? That's a phenomenal question. And guys, this just keeps going and going. Remember the judge out of New Mexico who was housing a TDA gang member and he ultimately resigned? Well, the update is he's been barred for life.
A judge in New Mexico was now banned from the bench for life after investigators arrested a suspected TDA member who was living in the judge's home. This after the judge's sudden resignation last month. Carrier Bond is here with her thoughts on that and myriad other legal items. But first, we go live to our national correspondent, Griff Jenkins, with more on this bizarre case. Griff.
Yeah, John, no one knows how this happened. It's unclear how much this judge may or may not have known, though he's called these allegations sensationalized. Here's what we know. In late February, Homeland Security agents raided Judge Joel Cano's New Mexico property and arrested alleged Tren de Aragua gang member Christian Ortega Lopez. You see here, they arrested him for being illegally in the country and in possession of firearms. Days later, Cano resigned without explanation. According to court documents, Ortega Lopez had been doing odd jobs for Cano's wife before being offered lodging in the couple's casita on the property after he was evicted from an El Paso apartment.
Now, taking into consideration everything we've seen in this video so far, you have a political party who is aggressively defending illegal aliens who commit heinous crimes against American citizens, and at the same time wants to sue the Trump administration for executing and enforcing the law that would keep American citizens safe. And amongst all that, you actually have judicial officials like a judge protecting these illegal aliens. Can someone please make it make sense? And this brings us to the question in this video. What's your reaction to the illegal alien out of California who's being released after murdering 2 teenagers, American citizens, by the way? How does that make you feel? And what is your message to Democrats as a result of this move? Let me know your answers in the comment section below. Now, in other news, last night, President Trump made a huge announcement about Elon Musk. It's no secret that his time is coming to an end and Tesla needs his help. If you missed out on that story and more, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.